This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With the all-new Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from good to excellent. Introducing the new Sleep Score on Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to another How Are the podcast, and we gather ahead of Sunderland's fixture at home to Bournemouth, where the lads hope to make it a third time in a row this season, where we have followed up a defeat with a victory in the Premier League. And today's pod might be a quickie on one half, because we're going to be looking at the past meetings between Sunderland and Bournemouth on Wearside, as well as previewing the game on Saturday. And there have just been 5 games between the two sides on Wearside to speak of in total, and only 4 in the league. And they have all come within my lifetime. So I'm not sure whether that part of today's pod is going to be particularly long. But luckily, to talk about this extensive history between the two clubs, as well as Saturday's game, I have the familiar calming voice of Andrew Smithson. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, good morning, mate. Researching this part of the pod was quite easy for once, wasn't it?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? When I looked, I didn't even think until I just went, right, I'll have a quick look. And I went, well, that's going to be easy. But it's amazing, isn't it, to think that, I mean, I remember during the 90s, we drew Carlisle twice in a row in the FA Cup. And with Bournemouth, never drew them at all.
No, it's bizarre. I even double-checked and looked to see if we'd played them is under a different team name. I think they were called Boscombe at one point, but apparently we didn't play Boscombe either. So yeah, it's all quite fresh. We've not had enough time to build up any needle with Bournemouth just yet.
No, well, at all. I mean, they're kind of almost just a blip on our history of the club, aren't they, really? But I mean, just to put it into perspective, as a bit of a comparison, we played Everton not long ago, and we played Everton a total of 186 times, because the actual total with Bournemouth, home and away, is 10 games between the two sides. And Everton we played 186 times. The first one in terms of playing Everton was 1889. It wasn't until 99 years later that we actually played Bournemouth for the first time. We actually played Everton 90 times at home. And like I said, we've only taken on Bournemouth 10 times in total, home and away. 3 of our home games against Bournemouth were at Roker Park. They've only come to the Stadium of Light twice. So if there's a silver lining, of course, it didn't take very long to look back at these games. So the first game against them, August 1988, but it maybe should have come a year earlier, because actually Bournemouth has spent their whole history since forming basically in the early 1900s in neither non-league or the bottom 2 divisions of the Football League. But that was until Harry Redknapp took them up to Division 2 in 1986-87, which was, of course, the year we were relegated from Division 2. But it's amazing the thing, isn't it? These two clubs that, Sunderland, the prestige around us, almost winning a double, winning cups and all this sort of stuff. And it just shows in that late 80s where the two clubs just swapped for a year.
We were obviously sick of waiting for them to come and catch us up, so we thought, right, well, we'll drop down a couple of divisions, but we just timed it badly and missed them. It's so peculiar. Everybody talks, don't they, about your ideal Premier League and which 20 teams should be in the top flight. And bless them, Bournemouth don't often get a look in those conversations, but since the 80s, since Harry Redknapp, they have grown and established themselves. But yes, prior to that, they were not quite at the same level as us.
Yeah, that's it. And they kind of took our spot really in Division 2 with us going down after that defeat at Gillingham. But we did return a year later, of course. Dennis Smith took us straight up. And then when we returned to Division 2, it was a big thing because we were back in the Division 2. First time of asking, opening day of the season, Bournemouth at home. But actually, I'd like to talk to you about a quick event that you wrote about on the Roker Report's website as an On This Day piece. And it was the week before, it was 7 days before. You might tell us I'm slightly off with how many days it was before the game, but I'm sure it was the week before. And it was a supporters open day at Roker Park, which I was looking at your piece, and it just looked brilliant.
Yeah, it was the weekend prior, and I think they'd had a couple towards the end of the 80s, and it was just get as many fans in, open as many doors as possible. You had fans exploring the main stand and going in the boardroom and all of that, and then you had players signing autographs, and just the type of thing I would have loved. I would have absolutely loved to have attended. I think as well, even the weather, it looked like a nice warm day, and there was one of those brilliant games where the press were playing against the coaching staff. So there might have been a few straighteners along the way there, a few late tackles, or so-and-so said I was a bad manager. Right, well, I'm going to clobber him. Just fantastic.
And if anybody gets a chance, have a look at it, because it's on, like I say, Andrew's wrote about a brilliant piece on it. It's the 21st of August, 1988, and it was an On This Day piece going back to 2021 on the Roker Report website. But Andrew included a thing from the kind of advertisement from the event itself, and I'll just read some of it. I mean, the thing is, it's a bit confusing at the top because it's got free, and that's next to a Vogue sign. So, I mean, people might have been thinking, hang on, there's free drink in this thing. It was Sunday, the 21st of August, Sunderland AFC supporters open day, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. I mean, that's a long old open day. But here's what was available. You could go on tours, and this included the dressing rooms, trophy room, boardroom, the boxes. I don't think I ever went in the boxes. I think I might have went in the boxes, when they were selling things off and you could just wander anywhere. I think that was the only time I ever went in the boxes. The snooker centre, the snooker centre at the ground, brilliant. The lounges, and it just says physiotherapist. It doesn't say physio room or treatment room. It just says physiotherapist. So whether you could get felt by smelt on this open day, I'm not quite sure, but that there you go. That's what was included in the tour. Sounds like an interesting tour. You could meet the players, watch a training session, band and aerobics display. God, if they were playing for kind of 10 hours, they're going to be knackered after that, aren't they? The shop was open, of course. You could join the membership scheme. I love the old gold cards. I remember having a pile of them actually at one point. I've still got a couple in a box somewhere. Dennis Smith was presented with Manager of the Year presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, and he got a little silver plate, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, there's a great photo of him dressed in full kit. He's for some reason he's wearing that beautiful yellow Hummel strip. Just stood in front of the main stand, and it's like are they called salvers? Is that what they're called, or something like a silver salver? I don't know, but he looked pleased as punch with it. Mind, I tell you what, he couldn't have been too impressed. I've just realised there, this is a week before the season starts, and his players are expected to be at an open day for however many hours. he's probably thinking, could they not be better off doing some actual training instead of signing all these autographs and that?
Yeah, well, I hope the training session didn't last 10 hours because they'll be knackered for the opening day of the season. But actually, the reason, of course, and this is kind of circles back to the modern day, the reason he was standing there in his yellow strip, of course, was because that summer we moved into the Hummel era, didn't we? That was that summer. And on this, it was unveiling, because on the thing it said, see the new strip. So it was the first time people were introduced to it. But and a momentous day, really, with Sunderland going into Hummel.
Massive. And I think if we don't see Regis Lebris turning up wearing a full kit at this weekend, I think we all riot, don't we? We all need to see that in our lives. It was fantastic day, and just it would have been right up our streets, Chris. You know, I would have needed more than 10 hours to do all the activities there, by the sounds of it.
Well, I haven't even said the main event at that open day, Andrew, which was, of course, unveiling of the new scoreboard. Now, it's weird actually looking back, because I thought it was unveiled, I thought it was installed earlier than that, because it must have only lasted, a year before it started breaking down?
It wasn't very long. I'm sure the contractors who put it in, though, would be keen to point out that it was through no fault of their own, and it was a good job. It wasn't long before it packed in, and is a lovely little turnaround. What do we think's happening at the stadium this weekend with Bournemouth again?
Yeah,
we should have the brand new scoreboard up and running.
Isn't it?
Whether that was deliberate or just a complete fluke, I don't know. You wouldn't put it past the club. They do everything now. The marketing side of it's perfect.
Yeah, I very much doubt, because I think people wanted to a lot of people wanted to forget about those scoreboards and pretend they weren't there when they stopped working. But I think maybe they kind of flashed up with attack far too much, and it just couldn't handle it. How much, Dennis Smith's side was free flowing and attacking.
Exactly, too good for our own good.
Too good for our own scoreboard. Let's leave it there. But so the first ever game, 27th of August 1988, between the two sides, and we took on Bournemouth, of course, at the Roker Park in front of 17,998 people on the opening day of the season when we returned to Division 2. And actually, just a couple of little tidbits it was quite interesting, obviously, because we came back, but nobody made their debut on this, and it was it happened quite regularly around that time, didn't it?
I think, yeah, Dennis Smith had a long-term plan for building the squad, and we did sign players, but not necessarily at the start of a season. I wonder as well if the transfer windows perhaps made that different. You weren't forced to buy players in certain windows. You could pick them up at other times. I assume he's just wanted to show faith with the team that have done so well and got him promoted. There's a lot of players in that Division 3 team, isn't there, Chris, who then went on to be real Sunderland fan favourites. So Dennis Smith's probably thought they've deserved their chance. Let's give them a go in the higher levels, see what they can do.
Yeah, well, that's it. And we drew ones each. Sean Close scoring after 22 minutes. And then on 39 minutes, 5 minutes before half-time, Gary Bennett got the equaliser. And then, just like buses, we hadn't played them in 100 years. But then the following season, we play them twice in quick succession. We play them in the league, and in 1 month as well. Then we play them in the League Cup third round as well, which was the Littlewoods Cup that year. The league game was first on the 7th of October. And a couple of interesting bits before this game, actually, because Harry Redknapp-Smith, Bournemouth, of course, at the time, the season before, the one we were talking about when we played them the first time, they finished 12th in Division 2 that year. And so we're a pretty solid side. And because you look at some of the players who were sitting in their side for this 7th of October game, Sean Teal, who went on to play for Ron Atkinson at Aston Villa, Bobby Barnes, who was a cracking player at the time. You had Sean O'Driscoll, who's done well kind of as a coach since. Kevin Bond, of course, who then followed Harry Redknapp around everywhere. And you had Gavin Peacock, who, of course, went on to play for Newcastle United. But a little thing that not many people might know about Gavin Peacock is he actually ended up being a pastor of a church in Calgary in Canada, and he actually presented a Songs of Praise in 2008.
I didn't know he presented Songs of Praise. I don't know, Chris, if you followed any of his sermons, but apparently he's quite extreme in some of his some of his understandings of the Bible are perhaps a bit old school, shall we say. He's quite fire and brimstone by all accounts. Very odd. I can't think of many footballers who've stopped playing and gone down that route, but
yeah. That's it. Well, in the build-up this game, Sunderland were looking to go 10 games unbeaten. We were sitting 4th in the league at the time, but there was 3 points separating second down to 10th. And actually, Bob Murray for this game allowed the cameras back in because he banned the cameras because they weren't paying enough coin to get in. So they put an extra 50 quid in, 50 quid, I was going to say 50 pence in the pot. And then the cameras got back in. There's some other interesting little things because we've both been looking through the programme, Andrew, and just the first thing I wanted to point out that just before this game, Sunderland made the signing of Paul Bracewell permanent.
Oh, yes.
And just to quickly read from Dennis Smith's notes in the programme, he said, hopefully the signing of Paul Bracewell will prove a good deal for the club. He obviously impressed during his loan period, and while there might have seemed some uncertainty as to our intentions, I can assure you that was not the case. We were clear all along that we wanted Paul at Roker Park, but inevitably other parties were involved and deals had to be transacted that were right for all concerned, which was a little bit interesting because actually there was rumours at the time when we had him on loan that Newcastle were trying to talk to him and sign him permanently. But you found a couple of little bits and pieces in the programme.
I did, yes, Chris. I mean, let's be honest here. We've both meant to be working full time, and yet we've got kids, we've got all sorts of commitments, and there's both of us wasting hours digging out old football programs.
Brilliant, though, isn't it?
Oh, exactly. It's amazing. But yeah, any sort of like idea that I'm a doting father, I think the kids are going to go, Dad, man, you're always under a pile of football programs. The first game we spoke about, the 1988 one in the programme, there was an advert for the Green Tree at Tudhoe Village, which was owned by Viv Busby. So the little advert in the programme said, come and meet Viv and have a pint. I thought that was quite cool. Also, the 1988 game, what a time to be a kid in Sunderland, because they had that open day the weekend before. The day before the actual game against Bournemouth, I saw in the Echo, was the first day of Sunderland Illuminations. Oh. So at that point, will have only been 6, and I'll have to admit this now, I will have been a damn sight more excited about the Illuminations than the start of the football season. I didn't get into football until slightly after. So yeah, that was fun times to be a kid. And the 1989-90 season, going through the programmes, there's a fan file feature in the Cup edition featuring none other than Tony McGill. Now, Tony McGill is perhaps a name younger fans don't know, Chris. He never played for Sunderland, but he was quite influential at one point, wasn't he? He was a bit of a character, was our Tony.
He was Guy Gilly and Gatesy.
Yes,
wasn't he? Brilliant.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's a good fact file as well, isn't it?
It's amazing. He later became an agent, and he was a commentator alongside Gatesy on the radio. But at this point in this feature, he listed his occupation as entrepreneur, which I think is quite fancy. I don't think there was many people knocking around Wearside in the 1980s passing themselves off as an entrepreneur. His matchday superstition was, and this is an official club publication, his matchday superstition was never pay to get into the game, his usual place in the ground. Now, this might make you jealous because you said earlier that you never got to go into the executive boxes. His usual place in the ground was box 1, so he had the best seat in the ground by all accounts. And of course, who was his current favourite player? No surprise, given how close they got in the following years. It was Eric Gates, his old radio pal. And that cracked me up, that little snippet there. I mean, bless him, entrepreneur. Who says that is your job title?
Well, if you're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur.
I know.
I know what you mean.
Well, wouldn't you just say businessman or whatever type of business it was you ran? Entrepreneur, bless him, just sounds a little bit vague for my liking. But he was a character on the radio. He was always laughing and joking on it, and you kind of got a bit of a sense of that in his little interview with the program that night.
Yeah, that's it. And I think there's a little thing. I think looking in the right one now because I've got both of them open. But because obviously they played in the League Cup a couple of weeks later. But there was a little thing that now I can't find, of course. But I think a lad who I went to school with, Kevin Bruce, won a little award on the Roker Rookies. It might not have been him, but I'm pretty sure it was him. But yeah, I doubt he listens to this. But anyway, if he really has any memories of getting an award from the Roker Rookies, there's also, I mean, I'm skipping ahead a little bit because we're looking through all the programs. I mean, the brilliant thing is I love the half times on the back with the letters. I mean, that just gives me memories of looking out at the scoreboards. But the picture section in the Cup program is, I mean, we might, if I can, I might try and put them out on the article that goes out with it because they are possibly the best selection of photographs in the middle of a program ever. There's Eric Gates receiving a Man of the Match award, and you've never seen anybody look so miserable at receiving a Man of the Match award. And I mean, I'm desperately going to try and put this up on the article for people listening to this. So try and get on the website and have a look. Like I said, I will try. There's Dennis Smith looking really angry with match sponsors. And clearly the guy who's noticed that the photograph's being taken isn't too happy and looking at the camera, and Dennis Smith looks like he's having a right go at him. The other one is Ruben Akbula picking up a new car from Graham Stevenson of Barnes Hire. And Ruben's looking really pleased with it, but it's a bright red car with kind of blue and yellow stripes across it. It looks like, I want to say it looks like a mini Metro or a Yugo or something like that. And it's got his name right across it. And it said Ruben Akbula drives Barnes Hire. And it's, I mean, if nothing sums up football in the late 80s, it's those pictures.
But that photo must have been taken on a match day. And they've gone, Ruben, stop preparing for the game. Stop listening to the team talk. This is more important. Come and pick up your new car. I mean, did he get like a little test drive around the side of the pitch?
I mean, the track was big enough, wasn't it? He could have had a good joyride around the Roker Park. But and by the way, Ruben Akbula's jacket. I mean, again, if nothing screams kind of coming into the 1990s like that jacket, it's pretty amazing. But like I said, we will try, and if I've got time, I will try and put them. If not, try and dig out the program if you've got it, because some absolutely amazing memories. But just quickly on the game.
Do we have to talk about the game, Chris? I was enjoying.
Was there anything else we could talk about there? I mean, actually, I was going to mention because again, it's just sign of the times on the back of the program. It's got the teams, of course. It's got the half times, the officials, the information about them. It's also got an advert for a tribute to Roy Orbison, featuring Jerry Grant, and you won't be disappointed. Apparently. Basket meal included, dancing until 1 a.m. Tickets only £6. Sounds like a bargain. Doesn't tell you where it is though. Unless I'm missing something. Nope. It's a tribute to Roy Orbison featuring Jerry. So if anyone can remember going to that on Monday, the 30th of October, 1989, you might want to tell us where it was. Because there's a brilliant write-up about him. Utterly genuine in his tribute, the likeness, the voice, and the style recreated in the show with electrifying results. and to tremendous acclaim. Come and see it. You won't be disappointed. Doesn't tell you where it is, but hopefully it was local. But anyway, that's the last thing. I tried to get onto the game before and you stopped me, Andrew.
Sorry.
But yeah, the game itself, Eric Yates opened the scoring after 18 minutes, shot coming back off the post to put us 1-up. And I think Gary Gates followed up a Gary Bennett shot, I think.
Aye.
John McPhail scored an own goal with around 5 minutes left of the first half. Then actually, just after half-time, Bournemouth went ahead, and it was Luther Blissett, who I didn't mention before, but actually, if you think, I think he was 31 at this point, and if you think 5 years earlier, he'd been playing for AC Milan. Yeah.
But come on. Who'd want to be at AC Milan when you can be going away to Roker Park and seeing the opposition being given complimentary cars before kick-off and that? That's where the glamour of football is.
Well, that's it. I bet you he'll say, though, I bet you he had more fun playing under Harry Redknapp than he did at Milan, to be fair, especially in those days. But yeah, so it was only 90 seconds into the second half when Luther Blissett scored. Now, very quickly, Marco Gabbiadini, 2 minutes later, equalised. I don't know if you've seen this goal, Andrew, but Eric Gates, I mean, this was Sunderland at the time all over. Eric Gates picking up the ball deep, looking up, turning, putting Marco in. But Marco still had like 2 or 3 players. But this is what Marco did every single time. He just ran forward. And the defenders didn't know what to do. They just panicked. And he just ended up smashing it in from about 10 yards.
The keeper's reaction is brilliant. He kind of just waves his arms afterwards. It's like, oh, wait. We knew this was going to happen. It's happened. We've had this before. I've got this on loop, this constant memory of Marco Gabbiadini scoring that exact goal about 5 million times. Apparently at half-time, Dennis Smith had been really unhappy and had properly gone to town on the players. And then within seconds, instead of being 1-1, they've then gone 2-1 down. So that hairdryer treatment didn't quite work. But that goal, just if you want an example of what the G-force was, oh man, that was it. Just trademark. Yeah.
And repeat, wasn't it, basically, that? And just repeat. Next week, do the same again. Do the same again. Nobody could seem to stop it. Marco put us on level terms, 2s each, 5 minutes into the second half. Then on the hour mark, lovely build-up in this goal. John McPhail, Bracewell, Gordon Armstrong. But it ends up with Paul Hardiman down the left-hand side. Brilliant cross. But a bit of a collector's item, this one, and Eric Gates' header.
Yeah, you're not too pleased as a defender, are you, when Eric Gates gets a header in? But I tell you who must have been loving it back in box 1 of the hospitality section. Gilly must have been loving that one, seeing his favourite player scoring a header.
That's it. A past Jerry Payton, of course, who was a good keeper, wasn't he, at the time? They had a good team, but...
Yeah, they did have a good team. Was he an Irish international?
Yeah, he was always understudy to Pat Bonner, wasn't he?
That'll be it, yeah. That'll be it. A decent side. Apparently, the year before, like you said, they'd finished mid-table. They were only a point behind us that year. And again, this season, they were tipped to be decent. Although, by the end of the campaign, I think they... I don't know if Harry Redknapp's magic wore off. I think by the end of the year, it all went badly wrong. But it was a good win at the time against a team who were expected to be decent opposition.
Yeah, that's it. Sunderland won 3-2 in that game, and obviously went on the charge to promotion in the most strangest way. So that was that game. Then we played them very soon after in the League Cup that month. It was only about 2 weeks later or something like that. We drew 1s each, and then I'm trying to remember what happened in the second leg. Can you remember? I think we went through because we ended up playing Coventry in the quarter-final, didn't we?
We did. It was we've been talking about this cup run a lot recently because it had a few moments. There was the Speedy incident against Coventry. There was the Exeter incident with John Kay in the next round. I think we won the replay 1-0, and I think it was Gabbiadini again getting the goal.
Yeah, that's it. Of course it was. Who else? But yeah, so then very quickly, because look, we want to give ourselves something to talk about in future years because Bournemouth don't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon. But Bournemouth disappeared to the bottom two divisions again soon after that and don't appear in the Championship again till 2013-14. That's when we're having our long stint in the Premier League. They get promoted to the top flight in 2015-16. That's when we'll play them for a fourth time at home anyway, which comes on the 23rd of January 2016 at the Stadium of Light. So that's the first time we take them on at our new stadium. I still call it new. Yeah, it's always going to be new to me. And this one was Eddie Howe's Bournemouth against Sam Allardyce's Sunderland. We're not in a good place because Big Sam's just spent big because we've lost 6 out of the last 8 Premier League games going into this one. We're 4 points from safety, 6 points behind Bournemouth going into the game. Comes off the back of us getting stuffed 4-1 at Spurs, but we drew ones each. Benik Afobe opened the scoring for Bournemouth in front of 41,367 and Patrick Van Arnold on 45 minutes getting the equaliser. I don't know if you remember, to be honest, this one doesn't really stick in the mind.
I mean, there you go. We've just waxed lyrical about the late 80s and all of this. You know, you could just see our eyes glazing over. And then, 2016, Chris, mate, you've covered it all.
That's it. I'll go back to the Roy Orbison tribute rather than talk about that one.
The only thing I think was of note was Van Arnold that day became the first Sunderland defender to score in back-to-back Premier League games. And I did not remember that from the time. I did read that last night when researching. I'm not quite that sad to keep those facts in my head.
Yeah, well, we'll just mention that in passing. We'll keep that in our pocket for future years. Bournemouth stick around. The fifth time at home was 29th of April 2017. We got beat 1-0, but that was, of course, under David Moyes, and Josh King scored the winner for Bournemouth with a couple of minutes remaining. But I think that's a good time for us to take a quick break, and then we'll be back after these ads, and we'll get into previewing Saturday's game.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Black Friday Game Day on Prime is an epic day of live sports. It all starts at 9 a.m. Eastern with the Capital One Skins game. Then, Black Friday football returns when the Bears take on the Eagles at 3 p.m. And it culminates with the final night of Emirates NBA Cup Group play with Bucks Knicks at 7 p.m. and Mavs Lakers at 10 p.m. Black Friday Game Day, only on Prime.
Welcome back to How We're the podcast. And after talking about Roy Orbison tribute and all of this sort of stuff, we can finally get back into the modern day and go into Saturday's game and have a look at it. Because, Andrew, we jumped on after the Fulham game. We were frustrated. We were disappointed. But you can imagine now that, and actually, if anyone gets a chance to listen to it, we talked to Andy Sixsmith this week, who's talked to a lot of the players after games and in midweek when in the break between games. He talked to Granit Xhaka after the Everton game when Granit Xhaka was fuming about that first half an hour of that game. And he said a few days later, Granit Xhaka was absolutely fuming, even a few days later. So you can imagine what it would have been like this week, Andrew, after the Fulham performance.
Yeah, I think the players will have felt a lot of frustration and a lot of anger, because it wasn't the case if we gave Fulham a good goal and were unlucky. We just weren't at the races. The game against Bournemouth in 2017, where where Josh King scored and Eddie Howe was Bournemouth manager. I mean, that says a lot that Eddie Howe still wasn't the most unpopular figure on the pitch that day. He was the Newcastle manager now, but David Moyes was our manager that day. I think he'd get a worse reception than Eddie Howe would at the moment. That was the day mathematically we were relegated. So just look at, I think it was, wasn't it? Your face is making me panic now. I'm thinking,
no. I always agree with you, Andrew.
Thanks, by the way, for those Roy Orbison tickets you sent. Thank you. Very kind. Yeah, I seem to think that was the day we were mathematically confirmed as going down. And then ever since then, the club just went on an utter slide. It's so nice now that the next time we're playing them in the Premier League at the Stadium of Light, it's a completely different club. And it's a club where a defeat to Fulham was a shock and not just the expectation. We were losing every week at that point and you just felt punch drunk. Whereas when you and I spoke on Saturday evening, we were a little bit taken aback by it because we all fancied ourselves to get something against Fulham. And the fact we didn't wasn't because Fulham were excellent. It was because we didn't reach our standards. So there was probably a bit of soul searching this week. I dare say Granit Xhaka was again trying to lift the mood and get us back to the same standards. And I'd be very surprised if we are as flat again against Bournemouth as we were last weekend in the capital.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Well, look, we'll quickly go on to Bournemouth and we'll circle back to the lads. But Bournemouth, it's one of these clubs that you just think, all right, eventually they'll drop out of the Premier League, the bubble will burst. And it's weird to think that they were in the Championship only a few years ago and took them a couple of years to get up. I think a lot of people thought, right, now it's Bournemouth going to drop away. They've, boom and bust. They've had their moment and they're going to drop away. But they bounced back within 2 years. And they've had 3 seasons in the Premier League, 15th, 12th and 9th. But the size of the club, you just can't knock them in terms of just sticking around and punching above their weight.
No, you're right. You can't knock them. And a lot of people say that the Bournemouth model is the way that clubs ideally need to try and follow. And we were saying there about how many years it was before we even played Bournemouth. Imagine if you were a Bournemouth fan of our age. When you were a kid, Bournemouth were a lower division team. And now, they're a fixture in the Premier League. Nobody looks at Bournemouth and thinks they're out of place. There's probably blokes our age trying to explain to their kids, oh, this isn't how it used to be. And the kids just rolling their eyes thinking, shut up, Dad. But I've only ever known Bournemouth in the Premier League. This is the club's natural level. But you've got to give them credit. They seem to do things the right way. I can't think of any controversies or anything where they don't seem to annoy anybody or bend the rules. They just seem to get on with their business quite quietly and effectively.
Yeah, well, you're talking about business. I mean, considering their highest attendance of the season was the last time out against West Ham, which was 11,216. And I'm chuckling not out of disrespect. I'm chuckling out of absolute respect because you look at the business that they need to get done. Look at players who they've sold during the summer. You're talking about, well over 200 million quid that they've brought in on transfers, which has allowed them to go out and spend on the likes of Adley from Bayer Leverkusen for 25 million, Diakite from Lille for 35 million, Petrovic from Chelsea for 25 million. But, that investment where they're very clever, like that's 200 million quid's worth of players. And let's say they've spent, just over 100 million. But you can see that's how they have to do business.
They do have to do business like that, but it's working well because, they've sold all of that talent. And I think, didn't they have a central defender who then went to Madrid? Howson, I think he was called last season.
Yes,
they certainly,
50 million.
Yeah, they certainly had quality players who were good enough to go to the next level. And yet, it's not impacted their team at all. They're still doing as well as previously. So their plan is really good. They do spend money, but they spend it sensibly. And I heard a podcast yesterday where somebody was very seriously talking about their manager being a potential replacement for Slot at Liverpool if he was to go. So this is what we're talking about here. We're not talking about some plucky underdogs who scrape their way through every season. They are rightfully a Premier League squad who are competing at a really strong level.
Yeah, and there's obviously Kirkes as well, who looked a world beater at Bournemouth, and then went to Liverpool, and people are giving him a hard time at Liverpool. Sold him for 40 million. You know, it's these things to do. You mentioned the manager, and I'm not going to butcher his name. The Spanish fella. You know, track record. He was at Athletic Bilbao, or was it Club Bilbao? How you got to say it? Yeah.
So we don't know the club. We don't know how to pronounce
the. I don't want to get that wrong either.
What we can talk to you about is Roy Orbison tribute next weekend.
Expert on that one, but you know, he played for Bilbao for a long time, and yeah, kind of his managerial career came across from Spain, relatively unknown, still only 43, which is of course quite I want to say quite young because he's a year older than me. But I think when he was appointed, it was one of these things that I think everyone thought, right, well, they've getting this fella across, half decent record in Spain, but it's probably, is it going to work? It might not. I think everyone expected Bournemouth to kind of nosedive, but he's just been brilliant at Bournemouth, hasn't he?
He has. He's done fantastically well with them. Certainly in those first few weeks, I remember there being question marks about him and the age-old, the Premier League's too big a step up. Like you say, he's got a decent record elsewhere. But I think in the first few weeks, it took a while for his vision to get fully understood by the players. But yes, they ended the season strongly. I think they had a half-decent run in the FA Cup as well. And he seems to be well settled there. He fully understands the league now. As I said there, he is being connected to other clubs, so he's obviously performing at a high level. And a bit like Lebris, it does just go to show, just because you don't know a manager by name and you don't know them brilliantly well, they might be the perfect person for the club at that time. And he seems, it seems as if he fits that club like a glove. That I get the impression he's really popular with the fans.
Well, we seem to have said this a couple of times lately, but they got beat off Liverpool in the opening day of the season and then went unbeaten for the next 8 games, winning 5 and drawn 3. But their last 3 games, tough fixtures though, in terms of those first 2. Got beat away at Manchester City 3-1, got beat at Villa 4-0, quite convincing defeats. Then the last time out that have been, and don't get us wrong, I think West Ham are on a upward trajectory. They're looking better than they did a few weeks back, but West Ham travelled to Bournemouth, and you think good chance for them to get back on track and get 3 points. And they drew 2 each, and I'm pretty sure they were 2-0 up in that game. Or you thought they'd actually won that game when we spoke on Saturday night, I think.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
but
I'm actually, this is bizarre. I've not even had a chance to watch Match of the Day yet, so I can't remember which way it went round. But yeah, on paper you would have expected them to beat West Ham.
Yeah. Well, that's it. So is it they haven't won since 26th of October. So the last 3 games, they're looking for a win. And I think the last thing they wanted to do was probably travel all the way up north. But it's one of them things. Again, you're looking at results, you're looking at recent performances, and you're thinking it's a team we can go at. But we thought that about Fulham.
We did think that about Fulham. The difference for me, though, is the venue. It's at the Stadium of Light. You mentioned the Aston Villa defeat they suffered. That was at Villa Park, and I have managed to catch up with that week's edition of Match of the Day. They were really poor. They were well short of where they needed to be against Aston Villa. And I think the last couple of goals Villa scored, Bournemouth just looked like a beaten team. Their heads were down. So the fact that we're at home, we've got a great record at the stadium, and there's all the cliches, there's going to be a big crowd there supporting us. I think we can be confident of doing well against them. And hopefully it's a similar thing. If we do nudge ahead, that just puts a bit of doubt in the Bournemouth players' minds. They think, oh, here we go again. Is this going to be another long day on the road? and that's when we might see us take advantage and go on from there and make the most of taking the lead.
Yeah, like you said, the venue might be an important part of it, because looking at that West Ham game, West Ham were 2-0 up, just after the half hour, and 2 goals relatively late on. There was a penalty on with 20 minutes to go, and then Bournemouth equalised with 10 minutes to go. But looking at the game, Bournemouth absolutely battered them. 76% possession. An XG, Martin O'Neill's favourite stat coming out there, but they had an XG of 4, and West Ham had an XG of 0.65. West Ham had 5 shots with 2 on target, scored 2 goals, and Bournemouth had 28 shots and 10 on target and scored 2 goals. So a typical, back in the day, old Championship Manager style smash and grab. But yeah, so they drew that last game, but they did look convincing. But again, it is away from home. But let's go into Sunderland, because all the talk's been about the tactics. We went 5 at the back. I mean, I'd be a little bit shocked if he went with the starting 11 and the same tactics as we've had, for the last 4 games, I think it is?
Yeah, it has been the last few weeks we've seen this, and I think that's a very fair point. I'd be exactly the same as you. He's not going to make 7 or 8 changes, but there will be some tweaks, and I do suspect, like a lot of people do, that we'll be reverting to a flat back 4.
Okay, so who's in your 4? Because I think he'll be very tempted to pull Alderete back in, because I think from the very start, Alderete looked good going forward, not just on set pieces, but I think wasn't it for the West Ham or the Brentford game, he put in a cross and got an assist from a cross from the left hand side. So he's brilliant at bringing the ball out and getting us going. So I think not only from a defensive point of view, but going forward, I think he'll be tempted with Alderete.
Definitely. I make no bones about it. I love him. I think he's an excellent player, and you're right, he can contribute going forward. I think it was the West Ham game where he put that brilliant ball in. That might have even been the first goal of the season, now I think about it. And did he then score at Forest?
Forest, yeah.
So a bit of a threat at set pieces, which is always handy. We do rely on set pieces. Not rely on them, but we like to make the most of them. So I would have Alderete in, and I know the next question is going to be who drops out, but I think it's only fair, Chris, you do a brilliant job as a presenter. I think it's only fair you get to answer this and you get to see what it's like having to make these tough decisions.
Well, yeah, it's so tough, but Gav's been saying it for a lot of weeks now, that almost at some point, or it might have been Martin, I can't remember which of the two, but I'm sure one of them have been saying that at some point they actually expect Trey Hume to come out. Now, if Michele is thinking, well, actually, is Michele a slightly better attacking option down that right-hand side? Gertruda either moves up into midfield or sits out, and Alderete comes in. Does Michele move out to fullback? And then you go with, because I'm pretty sure it was Martin who said Lebris, I think, knows that that's potentially his best back 4, but he likes form, he likes momentum. And I think while Trey Hume's got that momentum, he's going to keep him in. But there's been again, going back to, you don't want to look at one thing, you want to look at every aspect. But the goal against Fulham came from that side. It was slightly, dare I say, kind of lethargic with the way it was kind of pushing out to stop that cross getting in. So will the Breathe be thinking, yeah, I'm going to ruffle a few feathers?
Very possibly. Hume's an interesting one, because we have had these discussions before, and there was a time where I expected him to be replaced, not necessarily because he was playing badly. I just thought that was the way Lebris was going. He didn't get replaced. He stayed in the team, and his form continued to be good. Hume, like a lot of players, was a little bit off it against Fulham. If he does stay in the team, though, I don't think there'll be too many people losing their heads over it. I mean, Hume is an excellent player, and none of us are saying, oh, he's got to be dropped, he's crap. It's nothing like that. The difficulty we have when we're making these points is it's not a simple case of there's one position that's an issue, and if you drop him for the person who's in backup, that's the problem solved. Because, yeah, if you're going to be dropping Hume, it's on the understanding that there's going to be other changes in the team. And like you say, would Truder be pushed into the middle? Well, you only know that if you know what Lefay's going to be asked to do. And you only know what Lefay's going to be asked to do if you know whether he fancies a Dingra or Talby on the wing. So there's lots of influencing factors. It isn't just a simple case of this player's poor, whip him out and put a reserve in. There's a lot to be thought about. I am leaning towards the idea that Hume will be rested. Great player, and he'll be back in the team soon enough if that does happen. But I think the fact we lost against Fulham does just give Lebris that license to move a few things around.
Well, that's it. It's a squad game, and he's been talking about the timing of bringing these players in. And you think after a defeat and a performance like that, then actually these players who were knocking on his door saying, hang on, I deserve a chance. I deserve a few more minutes. At this point, he hasn't really got an answer back to them, has he?
No. And yeah, it's always, those conversations are always easier to have once you've lost. Does that, yeah, have I got that the right way around?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, there could well be players who this week have finally said, well, how Gaffer, now surely's my chance. But he might take it the other way and think, well, I've now got 11 players who are a little bit disappointed in themselves. They don't think they've given a good indication of what they can do. They're going to be absolutely raring to go on Saturday and right those wrongs. As I say, I personally would imagine Hume drops out and we have a couple of tweaks. I'm just not going to go crazy either if the decision is, no, we'll stick with the same personnel and allow them to correct the mistakes from last week.
And we are recording before the press conference, so we're not sure about who's fit and who's not, whether anybody kind of takes a knock late in the day, and Chris Rigg wasn't on the bench for the last game, so I'm not sure how much involvement he can have in the game. But come on then, Andrew, get those splinters out your backside, stop sitting on the fence, come on, tell us let's put ourselves into the mind of Register Briss and find out what the 11's going to be.
As I was talking there, I knew that was going to be the accusation that I'm sitting on the fence, and you're dead right. I'm trying not to say anything that's going to make us look daft or drop us in hot water. Right? Okay. Well, we can all agree it's going to be Roofs in goal. I think that's a given. Yeah. Okay. We'll go with a 4 at the back of Michele, Alderete, Ballard, and Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking of this as we go along. In midfield, Xhaka and Siddiqui. Let's put Lefay in there. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Truder, but you're going to have to make do with a place on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Traore on the right, Broby up front, and Talby on the left. I've actually made a few changes there, haven't I? I'll stick with that for now.
Yep. You know what? That was exactly what was in my head as well. Other than the only slight question mark I had over it was that left-hand side. Will he be tempted with? Does he see Talby as a left-sided player? I think he sees Talby actually as a right-sided player. But what we've seen of him when needs must, he's done well on that left-hand side. But the other one is Dingra. Because I think he'll have been knocking on the manager's door recently, especially with Traore, his initial games where he had to grow into playing 90 minutes and getting match fit. I don't think he's played 90 minutes yet. I think he's always been brought off around the hour mark.
That sounds right.
I'll be surprised if he has, but yeah, that's pretty much what I had in my head. I think you'll slightly be tempted to go more attacking and more positive. But how do you see it going? Because Bournemouth like a lot of possession. Do you think that is a good thing for us?
We seem to do better with that, don't we? Our performances against sides that dominate the ball usually quite good. We are comfortable and confident and able to let the other team have the ball, and then we're very good at knowing when to pounce, when to nick the ball off them, and we've got a bit of pace. We can get up the pitch fairly quickly. So I actually, if I could have thought of the best type of style to play against on the back of a defeat, it would be a team like Bournemouth. They're very good. They've got some great skill, great quality, but we suit not having the ball for large chunks and then making good use of it when we do have possession. And I think that's what I'm hoping to see on Saturday afternoon.
Right, we'll push for time, but quick prediction.
Always a Sunderland win. Oh, it was the same when we played them back in the 80s, and it'll be the same when we play them in 2025.
So you're going for a 3-2?
Yeah, we'll have a 3-2, shall we? We'll have a 3-2. That sounds nice.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to go for a 1-0 or a 2-1 to the lads. I think it's going to be tight. Okay. We don't give too much away, so I'm going to keep on going down that route. But yeah, just leaving to say thank you very much, Andrew. We spent far too much time talking about Roy Orbison instead of the game on Saturdays, but apologies to everyone. But thanks again, Andrew.
Thank you, Chris. I would object. I would say we didn't spend enough time talking about that period, but there you go.
Absolutely. And well, thanks again, everyone, for listening. Don't forget, we'll have immediate reaction after the final whistle at the Stadium of Light with a pod that should drop very soon, because I think the lads are gathering in at the bar, I think, after the final whistle. We'll have all the reaction on the Roker Report website as well, so look out for all of that. But from us, it's bye for now.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.